Hello friends, and welcome to Figure Study, where we're taking a look at the other TFCon 2019 exclusive from Mastermind Creations, their reformatted R-41, I had to look it up because I already forgot, Ultio, or an homage to IDW RatBat, as I understand it. As with Bedrock, their version of Bulkhead, I picked him up off of Planet Steel Express, and Planet Steel Express is sold out. These were actually pre-orders that I made during TFCon. As of this recording, you can still find Ultio and Bedrock at Toy Dojo, and they also have Ultio up for sale over at Robo Toy Base. So if you're looking for this guy, or Bedrock, or both, those are some places you can check out. That's as of this recording. It may change by the time this video goes up, or at some point in the future. Yes, Ultio. I will admit I'm not really familiar with the IDW comics, as is typically the case with me, so I'm not super familiar with RatBat as a character, but this figure looks amazing, and it is amazing, so I'm totally cool with that. You know, I'm sorry if that bothers people that I'm not super familiar with the character, but I do appreciate an extremely good figure, an extremely good-looking figure, and this is both of those things. Now, for the unfamiliar, Ultio here is based off of their, I think it's called Stray mold, which was like it was either Cybertronian Drift before he got a car mode, or it was the guy who taught Drift, maybe? Like I said, I don't really know the fiction. But basically, the Stray mold has been used for a lot of different figures in the Mastermind Creations line, including Ultio. What's interesting about it is, like, it doesn't look anything like that mold, but if you ignore the wings, there you can start to see it. Like, the structure of this center mass definitely shares some similarities with A-Tier Beta, and the transformation also definitely shares some similarities. But regardless of the similarity there, this thing looks fantastic. It's this really, pull it back a little bit so we can get a proper look at everything. It's this really harshly angled, almost Batwing looking thing. I really like it, and it works for RatBat because it does kind of have a vaguely bat-ish silhouette to it, and it's also got lots of harsh angles to it too. And I like the bits kind of streaking backwards there. It gives it the sense of being extremely fast. There's a lot of little details in here too, like these little line bits in there. I like the color differential here with like the pink and the dark blue fins, the little bladed edges along here. There's some little mechanical-ish circular details in there. Even the undersides of these things have some molding in them. The cockpit section could probably do with a little more definition, like maybe having some paint going like along the lines between what are the windows, but for what it is and what it does, what it's required to do, it's fine. Also, the rose-colored translucent plastic, it actually stands out pretty well on the purple. You'd think it'd get lost in there, but no. And I have to say that the pinkish, whatever that is, because it looks pink, but it might be a slightly purpley pink, like that with the darker purple, it's a really nice contrast. Here you lose some of it with like the black and then that really dark blue, but still got some really nice color combinations on him, and the way that certain things are separated out, like the boosters back here. It enhances all of the lines and the contours of the vehicle. I really like it. And the shape of this thing's great. You can also alter it slightly. Right now I've got the little landing skids down along there, but you can fold these up, and if you want, you can fold these up, and they fold in either direction. If you want to fold them out, if you want to fold them in, it doesn't really matter. You can do it either way. And then you can straighten these out. Give it more of like a, I don't know what you would call this, but widens the wingspan and completely changes the silhouette of the vehicle. I like that it's an option, but personally, I much prefer the more closed-in, kind of almost trident-looking shape with the wings pointed forward. That is definitely my preferred look. I'll swing these back down, and you can see a lot of the folded-up robot in there. So yeah, Ultio's vehicle mode is really cool. I really like this thing, and in order to properly capture it, I want to kind of angle it down a bit so we can see a little bit more of that shape. It's just really neat looking. For a standard size comparison, here he is with a deluxe, and even if you ignore the wings, it's still a pretty decent size bigger than the deluxe, but with the wings, kind of makes it look like a really angry dinner plate. Here he is with his TFCon 2019 exclusive buddy, Bedrock. And we'll get to some other Mastermind creations comparisons in robot mode, but for now, here he is with the duck tank. My apologies if you wanted to see other vehicle mode comparisons with Mastermind creation stuff like I did with Bedrock, but to be honest, it has been a fairly long afternoon. I'm getting a little burned out, and I just don't have it in me to spend another hour plus transforming all these other figures back and forth, so yeah. Anyway, let's get Ultio transformed. And there we have Ultio, or IDW-inspired RatBat, in his robot mode, and I love this. It's funny, I vastly preferred the wheeled version of this mold when it was either Deadlock or Blur. I wasn't really into Stray, but this, with like the primarily purple and gold and the winglets that hang down like that, works so much better for me. It's like this combination of the deep purple, the gold accents, the darker blue, the overall proportions, and these little winglets hanging down off the sides that kind of look like some kind of ornamental garb or possibly even some kind of cloak or something like that. It makes him look regal. There's this air of regality that just comes off of this figure, which I think works for a manipulative politician. At its core, it is very similar to the Stray mold. You can particularly see it in the giant shoulder pod things, but what's here is so good. The colors are fantastic, the breakup is fantastic. Bedrock managed the color breakup pretty well, but Ultio pulls it off even better. Because there's so much going on here with like the darker blues, the blacks, the gold accents. It's broken up so nicely. There's even little hits of silver starting at the feet, where you've got like a little bit of silver there, and on top of the head. It just mixes it up a little bit more. And I appreciate the fact that silver, you don't really see it all in the vehicle mode, so it's just like this nice little new element that they add specifically for the robot. He wears this so well. Getting a closer look at the feet, it's, if you've seen the Aether Beta video, or if you're familiar with the Stray mold at all, then this is like a dead giveaway, the way these feet work. They are nicely detailed and nicely differentiated between the purple, the dark blue, more purple, more dark blue, and the silver. The shins also have a really nice design to them. It's a little shame that this is coming up the way it is. Like, I almost feel like it'd be better if this could somehow turn around so that the point was pointing downwards, but it's not really noticeable, really. And these bits folding back along the calves also work pretty well. It kind of works in conjunction with some of the kibble he's got going on, where you can just kind of angle it all back and it kind of all directs, it's all pointed in the same direction. It kind of works. But anyway, I particularly like the big gold knee spikes. Those are fun. There are the thighs, which Actually have some that lighter grayish blue mixed in with the dark blue to help set it apart. The hip skirts also, get that out of the way, you can see there's more of that light blue in there. Then the hip skirts mix it up with the purple and the dark blue and the silver, and then so much going on here that I love. I love the detailing on the chest with the multiple vents and the multiple colors with the, primarily purple, but then light blue, silver, black, gold. And gold almost looks like some kind of necklace. The arms are fairly standard and straightforward compared to everything else. Doesn't look quite as ornate, but he does have the gold bands right around the forearms. And I like that the fists are actually a different color than the forearms. The shoulder pods, again, that dark blue kind of gets lost in the black, but the separation is still there. I also really love how this bit here, if you notice during the transformation, in vehicle mode, it's hinged forward more. And so when you hinge it back, it not only cleans up the shoulders, but I like how this is designed so that this shape kind of marries up to this bit here to make it look more like it's a full curved shape. That's neat. And wings look like the wings, but now they're hanging down, and that's just a neat look in general. And as was the case with Aether Beta and the rest of the story molds, you've got the little filler things that go in there that are a nice touch. Taking a look at that head is spectacular. It's, as I said, I'm not huge into the comics, but this looks like what I've seen of IDW RatBat. Again, he's got this kind of regal sense to him. I love the detailing and the mix-up of the colors here with like the whiter face, the sort of silver chin, the yellow for the vents on the sides, the kind of shiny yellow eyes. And then, of course, you've got this whole top of the head here that pulls off the bat motif, where you've got the yellow up here that could be like eyes or a visor, silver back there to just kind of mix things up, but then it comes back into what look like pointy ears, and also in the front, got little almost fangs hanging down. I don't know if his alt mode in the comics was actually a bat or if it was some kind of vehicle, but I like how that sort of conveys RatBat even when he's a humanoid robot. Great looking head sculpt. But yes, Ultio is fantastic looking. I really, really love this thing. And you have multiple options when it comes to displaying with accessories and whatnot. He's actually wearing his accessories right now, which is really, really cool. First thing, there's really no way for me to skirt around this and save it for last like I want to do, just because of the way that these things are stuck on there. So what we're going to do is get right into it. We're going to pull the wings off, and they just slide right out of here. See where the pegs are. They peg right in there. Slide them in. And it's also nice on the underside, you can see they're actually, this stuff is keyed in such a way so that it fits right in there perfectly. Yes, you can pull the wings off, and the wings become swords. His hands are very tight, so there we go. When they're closed up entirely, they don't quite leave enough room for stuff, but yes, you can give him wing swords, and that is very cool. And it's very reminiscent, as people have pointed out on the TFW forums, very reminiscent of Cybertron's Sideways or Universe RatBat, and that's awesome. The only thing is, I'm probably not going to use this much, because for as cool as it is that he can pull off his wings and use them as swords, and as cool as that looks, I actually prefer the look of them hanging down, but I still love that that's there. Definitely into that. I'm gonna open his hands up a little bit in preparation for the next thing. So, you also have, if you remember, the little skids that were folded down in the front. These actually are separate pieces that come out of the wings, and it's really tight. There we go. So, there is a little claw thing. Just stick that back on, and let me take care of this real quick. Okay, that side was not as bad as the other one, but still not great. So now you've got two claw weapons that you can give him, and you can peg them in as though he were holding them like, a rifle or something like that, and that's fine. The issue that I have with this is it covers up the hands when you close off the fingers, and it doesn't look quite right to me. But the other way to do it, which is I think the intended way, but the instructions aren't super clear in how you're supposed to peg these things in. So the other way is to swap their position and actually peg them up into the bottom of the hand. And the problem with doing this is you definitely need to close the fingers around it, otherwise they're just gonna fall right out. When he's holding them in his hands this way, it looks more like he has Wolverine claws or something on the backs of his hands. But this is my preferred look for him, because he's armed but not necessarily going into battle. It's more like it just adds more black and gold to his form. And I like the imposing look of just having claws just hanging out. I love how this guy's got so many options, and unlike Bedrock, he doesn't have this enormous out-of-place weapon. It's all stuff that just stores either in vehicle mode or in the robot mode. You don't even really notice that it's there as accessories unless you want to use them as such. Anyway, let's move Ultio back here so we can move on to those comparisons I promised so long ago. Here he is with a standardish deluxe. Here he is with his convention-exclusive release buddy, Bedrock. Moving on to the other Mastermind Creations IDW-inspired stuff I've got. Here he is with Commodus, or Turmoil, with Titanica, or Strika. And I like how, even though they're both purple and gold bots, the tones on both of them are very different. Here he is with Nitro. And actually, moving them a little closer together, it seems as though Nitro might be just a little bit taller at the head. Neither a good thing nor a bad thing, just an observation. Here he is with Dicamus, or Roadbuster. Here he is with another purple bot, Coulter, or IDW Tarn. And lastly, here he is with yet another purple robot, Mastermind Creation Spartan, or IDW Impactor. I do believe that is going to do it for Mastermind Creations Reformatted R-41 Ultio. I was immediately drawn to this thing when I saw the reveals, and I'm not disappointed in the slightest. It actually was really good timing too, because I'd been contemplating getting my hands on Aether Beta again, because this is a very good figure and I was missing not having it. But when I saw this, it was like, okay, that's the one. That is the version of the mold that I'm going to get, and it is going to be glorious. And I did get it, and it is glorious. Again, the colors are fantastic. The sense of presence and importance that it has, even though it's not the biggest figure that I've got out of Mastermind Creations, it's really impressive. I love how the accessories, you've got like 2 different accessory options, and both of them store in the robot and vehicle mode effortlessly to the point where you may not even realize they're accessories. It should be obvious at this point, but just in case, of the 2 TFCon exclusives that I picked up, which would be Ultio and Bedrock, Ultio is far and away my favorite of the 2. If you're on the fence about either one, I guess my suggestion would be go with whichever one you don't have a ton of copies of. But for me, as I said, Ultio is the one, the big one out of the 2, even though he's technically the small one. But what are your thoughts on Mastermind Creations Ultio? I'm sure those of you who are more familiar with IDW RatBat probably can find plenty of things that aren't quite right with his depiction here, either in robot mode or vehicle mode or both. Whatever your thoughts on this, or Bedrock, or Mastermind Creations in general, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. And remember, art is more than meets the eye.